Good morning, Gideon. We are on Kuf Yud Ches Amud Aleph 118a. And we are on the line that begins with the word Di'ilu. There's a small parenthesis there. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the wider set of lines, you'll see a parenthesis there. And in it, it has an Aleph Reish. That's Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Yes, you see it there? Okay, so we're talking about the nature of making parnasa, right? That's what we've been talking about, the nature of making a living. And the reason we're discussing the nature of making a living, the nature of parnasa, yeah, you found it? You see it? Make sure you're on the right page, yeah? Okay, so the reason why we're talking about the nature of making parnasa is because the Mishnah told us that on the Seder night, in addition to the regular Hallel, we recite the Hallel HaGadol, the great Hallel, which is the 26 Kilei Olam Chazdais, Hoidel Hashem Kilei Olam Chazdai. And our Gemara told us that the reason why it's called great is because it makes reference to Noisen Lechem Lechabasar, how God provides parnasa and sustenance for all. 136 or 137 is it, right? So, because the Mishnah, the Gemara talks about this Hallel HaGadol, this great Hallel, which is called great because it makes reference to Hashem providing, the Gemara is discussing a bit about providing and making a parnasa. Yesterday we spoke about how the Gemara says that giving birth is half of, or the difficulty of giving birth is half of the difficulty of making a parnasa, as we spoke about yesterday. And we suggested that perhaps giving birth is a temporary stress that you know is coming to an end, whereas the endlessness of parnasa creates a certain stress level where you don't know where it's never ending. That was a suggestion we gave yesterday. So I had to actually discuss this with someone who actually gives birth. So I asked my wife what she thought. I never gave birth. So I had to discuss it with someone who did. So I spoke to my wife. Thank God he's given birth 6 times, Baruch Hashem. So she agreed, or she understood that, but she was suggesting that, giving birth is one thing, but then you got to take care of the child. It's not like giving birth comes to it's over. Maybe the giving birth is over, but it's not over. It keeps on going. Good question. You still have a child to feed and take care of, right? So I suggested that perhaps that's what parnasa is. Part of parnasa in the Gemara here is not just making a living, but taking care of the kid. In other words, giving birth to the kid is one thing, but then taking care of the kid, which is part of parnasa, is part of the long-term stress that keeps on going, including providing for the kid's spiritual needs and social needs and so on. So my wife agreed that would be a correct interpretation, so I decided I'll share that with you here. Okay. So on the subject of parnasa and the difficulty of parnasa, we spoke yesterday about the difficulty on man's part, right? The verse refers to giving birth as be'etzev, when Hashem tells Adam and Chava the punishment, the consequence of eating from the tree of knowledge. Hashem says to Chava, be'etzev, in stress you will give birth. And when it comes to making a parnasa, where Hashem tells Adam Arishan, be'itzavon, in stress, plural, stress is you will make a living. So implying that stress is double giving birth, which we just finished explaining. And that's a reference to the difficulty of man in giving birth versus making a living. Yes? Okay. The reason why the Gemara is making that juxtaposition is because the verse does. When the verse when the Torah curses man, curses both man and women, that what they achieve is going to come through stress. The man parnasa and the woman giving birth. But in so doing, the Torah says stress in the singular for giving birth and stress is in the plural for making a living. And that's the Gemara comments juxtaposition of the stress of giving birth being half that of the stress of making a parnasa.
it's part and parcel of the stress of making a living, taking care of a kid.
That's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that based on my wife's comment. Because she's correct. Giving birth is one thing, but then you have a child to take care of. So I'm saying that perhaps parnasa includes taking care of those children. Okay. So now, having discussed this, the differences in terms of the stresses of man in giving birth versus making a living, now the Gemara is going to talk about the difficulty, as it were, in terms of God providing a parnasa, so to speak. And we'll try to explain what that means today. So we'll learn the Gemara on the literal level, what the Gemara says literally, in terms of the difficulty, so to speak, of Hashem providing for man. Yeah. And we'll talk about the difficulty of Hashem to make parnasa. We'll look at the literal level, and then I'll suggest a deeper Hasidic interpretation, both on a philosophical level as well as on our relationship with God level, perhaps. So let's first learn the Gemara on its basic level. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan says, yeah, we have the place there, the parentheses there, which says Amar Rab. You have the place, yeah? So move, if you can't hear me, move closer. If you can't hear me, move closer if you can't hear me. Come closer so you can hear better. Okay. Sit. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says, the providing of parnasa for a person is so difficult, more difficult than redemption. It's hard here. Yeah. So providing parnasa takes more than redemption. It would, as we'll see, it would seem Hashem. From the verses that's quoted, it would seem Hashem. From the verses quoted yesterday about the difficulty of parnasa versus giving birth, it's clear we're talking about man's difficulty, because the verses there, we're talking about the curses Hashem gives to man. But here, as we'll see, the verses here talk about what Hashem does. So it would seem, therefore, that when the Mishnah Gemara says it is difficult for Hashem to provide, when it's that providing parnasa is more difficult than redemption, it's a reference to Hashem's difficulty, so to speak, which again, we'll learn the Gemara on the literal level, and then I'll explain perhaps what it means deeper. Okay. So let's see. The ilu, because in contrast, with respect to Geula, Ksiv, the verse reads, Hamalach Hagoyel Oisi. Right, this is Yaakov Avinu in his blessing to, right? It's to the twins, Yaakov's blessing. Yaakov's blessing to his grandchildren, right? To Yosef's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. I think it's to them, right? Hamalach Hagoyel Oisi, the angel that redeemed me, Mikol Ra, from all negative, he shall redeem the young people and let them grow and multiply and so on and so forth. Yeah? Hamalach Hagoyel Oisi. So, Malach Ba'alma, with respect to redemption, for Yaakov's redemption from all of his difficulty that he faced, his brother Esav, his father-in-law Lavan, redemption there happens to an angel. Malach Ba'alma, just an angel. That's all it is. So redemption requires an angel, says the verse. Yeah, I'm clear? Following or no, yeah?
What does it mean, redemption?
In the literal sense here, Yaakov was redeemed from kind of difficulties he was facing. He was redeemed from
difficult.
Yeah, he's redeemed from Esav, who held him. He's redeemed from Lavan. Sorry?
More difficult. Providing parnasa is more difficult
than the redemption, yes.
Moving pain from.
Okay, well, let's see. So redemption here, says the Gemara, comes through angel, the ilu, but with respect to b'mezainos, with respect to providing parnasa, ksiv, the verse reads, halakim haraya oisi. Right? Again, Yaakov now is blessing Yosef. So Yaakov is speaking again. And Yaakov says, God that sustained me, raya oisi, he pastured me, he sustained me. The verse goes on to say, should bless you, Yosef. Okay, so Yaakov refers to an angel as having redeemed him, and as God, Elohim, as providing for him. So God directly provides for him, but redemption through an angel.
That's a harder task. That's
the Gemara's. So this is the implication. The implication is that providing parnasa is a harder task. God himself does. Hashem himself, which is a very interesting thing. So there's lots of commentary here and just suggesting perhaps like this. This is the basic Gemara. Now there are other references to redemption from God himself. The whole thing we're talking about coming out of Egypt, we say Nagada, Ani v'lo malach, I am not an angel. Ani v'lo saraf. Right? We say this Nagada explicitly. Ani v'lo malach, I am not an angel. Ani v'lo saraf, I not a saraf. Ani v'lo shaliach, I am not a messenger. Right? So there's a sense of I am redemption too. Right? But the Gemara is speaking here specifically, one person is speaking. Yaakov is speaking, and with respect to his own experience of redemption, he says angel, and with respect to his own experience of parnasa, he refers to God himself. Right? So it would seem, therefore, that the Gemara here is not speaking about collective redemption, which perhaps collective redemption, like the Exodus from Egypt, or when Mashiach comes, it's God himself, but a personal redemption can be malach, an angel. Whereas personal parnasa requires Elokim. Yeah, that would put this into context more correctly, because there is one person speaking. It's in the same way yesterday's juxtaposition was in the same context, where God curses Adam and Chava, right? And he curses her with Eitzev singular and him with Yitzavon. It's in one context. Here too, it's in one context. These two verses of Yaakov speaking are one after the other. It's Genesis chapter 48, verse 15 and 16. It's in one context where he refers to an angel as having provided for him, and an angel having redeemed him, and God having provided for him. Yes, it's one context, and the context here is a single individual, not the collective. Okay, that's number one. Number two, perhaps as follows. Even in your individual life, yeah? Okay, so redemption, if you felt like you were redeemed from a circumstance, versus the day in, day out of Hashem of making a living. In which of those two experiences would you feel God more aptly? Being redeemed from you're in a stress, and boom, you get redeemed. Versus Hashem providing for you every day. Redeemed, you'd feel God much more. And yet here, it's saying the opposite. That God himself, right? That it's more difficult. That God himself provides. So perhaps it's something like this. It's true that parnasa comes from God himself, and redemption maybe comes to an angel, right? But the way in which Hashem provides parnasa for you is in such a way where you don't see him. That's why it's Elokim, right? We have different names of Hashem, and each name of Hashem implies a different level or different way in which Hashem expresses himself. Of a revelation. And Elokim denotes God in concealment. It's exactly what Elokim is. And Chassidus talks about this, how Elokim is the same numerical value as Hateva, the nature. Because Elokim conceals. Elokim is Gevura, it conceals. So Hashem himself provides parnasa, but it's Elokim, it's concealed, because you feel like it's your own work. And in a way, that's actually a deeper connection, a deeper investment from Hashem's part is to give you on a day in, day out basis without even realizing it's for him. Whereas redemption is a one moment thing. It's like giving birth. It's a one moment thing. So it's a quick revelation and you see it clearly, but it's only an angel. It's not the deepest level of Hashem's revelation. The deepest level of Hashem's revelation is actually in the consistency of his involvement in your life. That's his deepest investment in you. While simultaneously, that deepest investment is concealed. Precisely, that's what makes it so deep. Follow? Whereas redemption, it's like out of the blue. My gosh, I was stuck in a situation. I finally came out of it. So you feel like, wow, Hashem revealed himself to me. So says this Gemara, that's true, Hashem did reveal himself to you. That's a much lower level than Hashem's investment in you every single day to provide for you. Hashem's investment on a day in, day out basis to provide for you is a deeper investment of Hashem than the one-time blast where, whoa, Hashem saved you. Moreover, follow? Yeah.
They're both Hashem. Why is it called angel? Just a more revealed.
An angel is a tool. That's right. Okay, you exchange the word angel for a tool of Hashem. A tool. But it's a lower level. It's more revealed, but it's a lower level. Yes, it's a lower level. But lower investment on Hashem's part, but more obvious to you. The deeper investment, it's a paradox. It's a lower level of investment, but more obvious to you because I was so stuck and now I'm saved. And Hashem's like, I saved you once in a flash. That's a tool. It's an angel. You want to know what my real investment is? Day in, day out, taking care of you. But it's a lakim, it's concealed. You don't notice it. I'll put it even more. The reason why Hashem every now and again does these miraculous angelic flashes of saving you is to remind you that everything else he's doing it for you is also from him. Another way to put it is, why does a miracle occur? A miracle occur. The real reason for a miracle to occur is to remind you that every day is also a miracle.
And the concealed things are just
not more important. Exactly. That Hashem's concealed investment in you is just as important, if not more important, in recognizing Hashem. So the reason for a miracle is a flash is actually to remind you that everything else is from Hashem. So when there's a flash, it's a lower level, but it's just revealed to you. It's obvious. There's an angel here. But in the day in, day out basis, Elohim, it's concealed. That's number two. Number three, you go a little deeper here. The angelic experience. Oh, so now I want to get to that kind of thing, what you're talking about. Now I want to get to that, which is, we spoke about this yesterday, the difference between birth and parnasa on a spiritual level. Birth is when you have a burst of excitement. There's a new life here. Parnasa is to have a sustained relationship with God. Which one's harder? Which one's deeper? The second. So the first one's a flash. It's much more exciting. It's much more revelation. The day in, day out sustaining is concealed. But that's really where it's at. So you see how yesterday's Gemara and today's Gemara actually line up. Yesterday's Gemara talking from above, from below to above. From below to above. I give birth, new excitement. Or I have to work for Parnas. I got to work on a sustained connection. A day in. Sorry. Very much. It's very much congruent. That's right. The day in, day out work is much more difficult than the flash. Both from above to below, from below to above. We spoke yesterday. Birth versus making parnasa, and both now we're learning today from above to below also. The flash of Hashem saving you, an angel. But the more the deeper it is on a daily, consistent basis, Hashem providing for you. Providing literally parnasa and a day in, day out work to develop a relationship with Hashem where Hashem's trying to be part of your life, investment be part of your life, rather than a one-time flash where you feel redeemed, you feel saved. Right? So in a way,
struggling with parnasa, Hashem's trying to you have to build a deep relationship, so to speak.
In a way, that's true. In a way, a person, unfortunately, sometimes it takes a person to go through difficulty in parnasa to be reminded that it's Hashem who provides, right? And that trust, that Pesachim, this is the Shara Pesachim, right? That famous book that everybody's reading nowadays, the Shara Pesachim. We learned in the Chassidus in the morning. This is the whole point of that book there. To remember that the day in, day out, where I go to work and I feel like I'm doing the work, it's concealed. No. This is Hashem's investment in you on a daily basis. So it's a lakim, it's concealed, but it's a deeper connection actually. Which leads now to the Gemara's next statement. Let's see the next statement of the Gemara. And then we'll conclude with that. Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yeshua, son of Levi, says, at the moment, at the time, when God told man, to Adam Rishon, the koitz, the dardar tatzmiach loch. When Hashem cursed him, Hashem says, thorns and thistles will grow with your crop. Yeah. So when he was told that, says the Gemara, says Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Zolgu einov ma'os. He started to cry. Why did he cry? Amar Lefanov. So he said before him, capital H, Rebbeinu Shlomo Matthew, the universe, Ani v'chamari necha be'eves echad. It's me and my donkey going to be eating out of the same trough, right? That's what's called, right? The trough where the animal eats out of. So me and my animal, how do you pronounce it? Trough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and my animal are going to be eating out of the same trough. Be'eves echad. So we're just going to be eating straw with thorns and thistles like that. We're eating the same. Even Amalai. So one Hashem said to him in the very next verse, right? It's the next verse, I believe. Yeah, it's the next verse where Hashem says, "Bezeis apecha teichel lechem." By the stress of your brow, you'll eat bread. So when he heard that, Niskara Daita, he calmed down. Why did he calm down? He's not eating at the same trouble. Eating bread. Okay, simple reading the Gemara is just that. He's not going to be eating just the trough, thorns and thistles. He'll be eating bread. That's the simple reading of the Gemara. But what's a deeper reading of the Gemara? How does a donkey eat thorns and thistles out of the trough? Is he working for it? No, it's just provided. Provided directly. But the bread that he's eating, how does it? It's thorns and thistles. But the bread, how does he eat? It's got to work. By the sweat of your brow, you got to harvest. You got to grind. Just literally, you got to add with water, knead it, bake it. So what is other B'nai crying over? Is he crying over the thorns and thistles, or is he crying over the fact that it's going to be provided for him for free? And what's he happy about at the end? That he's getting bread, or that he's working for his bread? The simple reading of Gemara is he's crying over the thorns and thistles, and he's told, no, you're going to get bread. But perhaps a deeper reading is also the thorns and thistles comes along with the fact that it's coming to you easy. It's just given for free, right? Whereas the bread, the reason why it's so much more precious is because of the work you have to do to put into it to make it. This is consistent with what we just said before, right? On the one hand, you have the angel that redeems you, right? But it's a lower level. It's thorns and thistles. It's all right there for you. Just go and take it. But it doesn't have that same joy. The true joy, the true bread, the true sustenance is the stuff I got to sweat my brow over. Got to work on it. Adam writes that a kaf shaloi, our sages say, a person would rather one measure of his own than 9 measures that somebody else gives him. So the simple reading of Gemara is he's crying because of the thorns and thistles. But I'm offering a deeper explanation here. He understood that the thorns and thistles meant that Hashem was going to provide him for free, and it's going to be a cheap food because he's given it to him for free. So he's told, no, you're going to work hard for your bread. He said, okay, I'm going to work hard, but I'm going to get bread.
Brings back good memories.
I work hard, but I'm going to get bread. I'm going to work hard, but I'm going to have a true relationship with you, Hashem. It's going to be a lakim. It's not just going to be the malach. I'm going to have to work hard. It's going to come through concealment. I'm going to have to sweat. I'm going to have to schwitz. But it's going to be a real connection. That's a lakim versus malach versus the angel. And to conclude with this line, I think I told you this. It's a joke story that makes this point. You have an angel, you have a soul who's told, he's selected, you're being born today, you're going down to earth. He's so excited because he in Gan Eden before he was born, he learns Torah all day. He learns all the mitzvahs. He knows all the mitzvahs, but he can't do them because he's a soul out of body. So he's told you to go into a body, and he's so excited. He's going to go into a body and finally get to do mitzvahs. Fine. So he's going down. It's a joke, but it makes the point. The soul's going down. I've said this story before. And on the way, he sees souls coming up. People have just passed away. So he's going down, and the souls are coming up. And they meet halfway. And the young, fresh, excited soul sees his souls coming up, beaten, sahakt, and zaknakt, exhausted, tired, beat up, and stressed. And he's looking at them. He's like wide-eyed, excited. And he looks at these older things. He's just like, what's going on? Why guys look so beat up? I heard that if you go down to the physical world, for $5 you can do a mitzvah tzitzis. You know what I would do if I can do mitzvah tzitzis up in heaven? I can't get a tzitzis up there. For $5 you can get a tzitzis. This is amazing. What do you guys look to hawk for? The soul coming up says to him, yeah, but you know what you got to do to get that $5? You know what you're going to have to go through to get that $5? Right? But at the end of the day, this is the truth. Up in heaven, it's an angel, so to speak. It's like the angel experience, where it's all revealed, it's all open, but it's not the true depth of the connection. The true depth of the connection is Elohim. And the soul comes down into the physical body, and it's got to work and fight for it. It's by the sweat of your brow, then you eat bread, rather than for free like a donkey who gets who gets all of his food for free, but it's thorns and thistles. It's not the real deal. The real deal is a lakim. It's concealed. He's got to, by the sweat of his brow, he's got to eat bread. Literally, physically, parnasa, as well as spiritually, his relationship with Hashem. Rather than giving birth, it's parnasa. This is perhaps some layers to this Gemara. Tomorrow, there's still further comments on this idea of making parnasa. Tomorrow is what, Wednesday? Or tomorrow there's a bris. So we may not be able to have a class. There's a bris tomorrow morning downstairs. So we'll see how the timing works out and whether we can do the class. But in our next class, we will going to talk further about making parnasa and other comparisons, and it's all going to fit into our reading, our deeper reading here of the Gemara.
All in the dough.
It's all going to be in the dough. Very good. Okay, wonderful day, Yidden.
You know, the best tomatoes I ever had, which for me was like
110%. That's right. The best piece of furniture I have, the best piece of furniture I have in my house is the one I made. If you put it in a contest, it would lose. It doesn't look that pretty, but I made it. I made it, and I know every nail in there. I know the measurements I have to do to get it, because I made it. Right, so it's the bread that I worked for. It's a lakim rather than the malach. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day, Yidden.